Body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. Sound of the temple bell boom for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of nonviolent global village forever. Here is the after sound of a bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Amoga Varochana Maha Mani Padme Jvala Pravartaya.
Please join in some mindful stretching as an end to our meditation practice. Finding the pressure points along the ridge of your skull, all the way down to the occipital bones. And then massaging the ears, all the way down to the earlobes. Stretching the lower back. Stretching upwards. And then folding to the left. And to the right. As we sit up, we clasp our hands behind our back and lean forward. Turning to a seated position, we do a spinal twist to the left, looking all the way over your left shoulder. And then to the right. Placing your hands at the base of your hips. We do some big hip circles first to the left. Reversing direction. Grasping your left ribs. Lean to the right. And then reverse. Clasping your hands behind your head at the base of the head. Twist to the left. To the right. Reaching far over our heads. Deep abdominal breaths. Please stand and join us in chanting of the 3 refuges. Facing the front of the room toward the altar. So we will first take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha in Sino-Korean and then in English. So just place your hands palm to palm. Throw your voice in as best you can.
Chale Sanju Ilshe Samaya
I go for refuge to the Buddha
I go for refuge to the Buddha
and resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
and realize the great way.
and realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma
I go for refuge to the Dharma
and resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings
I will penetrate the teachings
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha
I go for refuge to the Sangha
and resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please return to your places and sit comfortably. Good morning, all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Good morning, Mom.
Morning,
So,
Mom.
I'm Ma-Um. I met most of you. This is Gakul, one of our Dharma Guardian students, and we're doing this service together today.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good morning,
Good
morning. Thank you for coming. Today is a day of honoring mothers. I'm a mother of 2 children, 2 squirrely little boys. And after the service, we're going to go over to my mother's house, and my partner's mother will also join us. We're going to celebrate the day over a meal, and afterwards, we're going to walk in this beautiful springtime weather. I'm grateful to be here with all of you this morning to honor the mothers who have come before us, both our blood ancestors and spiritual mothers, in the Buddhist traditions reaching back thousands of years. At breakfast this morning, we were talking about what does Mother's Day mean? What does it mean to be mothered? What does it mean to mother others? And we wanted to open up this idea to all of you in the room. If anybody has any thoughts on the topic of mothering.
So to get the discussion started, maybe one of those present this morning could offer a thought. I'll start.
I think I have a good idea. Hey, sit down. Thank you. I'm glad to be sitting next to the technician. I was at the breakfast in question, and I can testify that the discussion was quite rich and exciting and inspiring. And one of the things that really struck me about the conversation was that Maha specifically, if I can call you out by name, had mentioned that the concept of mothering is genderless and that everyone can mother. And that this, as an idea, is also very empowering, that whatever we nurture, whatever we feed and help grow, we are mothering. So one other thing that I thought was very inspiring that I never thought of before was mothering one's own mother. So these are two ways that one can mother without having children.
Mentioning mothering one's own mother. My mom has just a touch of the dementia, and she's very sweet. And meaning no disrespect, I call her my mama baby, mama baby.
So the story that came to my mind when you asked that question was there was a woman who was a mother who lived here a few years ago named Jenny, I think. I think she was a farmer. And we were put in charge of helping to hang boughs of evergreens from this room for, I think, New Year's Day service or something. I think we had gotten a lot of Christmas trees for free after Christmas was over, and then dismantled them and to hang them for these beautiful evergreen boughs. And they were really sharp, and there was some kind of tool I was supposed to use to create the boughs, and I just was not getting the hang of it. And I was getting really frustrated. And Jenny didn't really even know me that well. She just came over and said, "Oh, it looks like you're having trouble with this. Let me show you how this tool works." And she was just so instantly able to bring that patience and sweetness. And I had heard her speak that same way to her children. And I felt so comforted and accepted, even though I was really struggling in that moment. So that was what came to mind as the sense of mothering, just kind of showing up and helping in that situation.
I think of mothering as great, like what you shared, mentoring. And I think about all the mentors in my life personally and how I feel mothered by them. And then that helps me to, mother I have a 21-year-old son. So it helps me to mother him. And the other thing that came up for me is just this idea of selflessness, right? And the polarity of that, because it comes and goes, and I think it's just a journey of that selflessness and mentoring. Thank you.
story about this. My mother is very sweet. She's this Italian-American mother who is very selfless, and she's always cooking for us, and she's always, I remember when I was living at home, she's always cleaning up all the time. And when I got my own apartment, then I knew that she was coming to visit me, so I didn't want her to fuss or anything like that, so I made sure to clean the apartment before she came over. And when she arrived, she looked around and then she started cleaning my windows. And so then she was going to visit my brother afterwards in his apartment, and I called him up and I said, Dave, when Mom comes, she's going to want to clean your windows. Just be aware of that. And so he cleaned up his apartment and he made sure that his windows were clean. And she came over, she took one look around, and then she started cleaning the windows in his car.
I'll tell a story that I told at breakfast. I think it's really an important lesson with our mothers to see through some of the things they might say that we don't particularly appreciate, to see beyond that, to sort of see what their heart is saying rather than what's coming out of their mouths. Whenever I see my mother now, she always says to me, we have to get rid of those gray pants. They just don't fit you well. I'm going to take you shopping. And so, rather than me pushing back and saying, but I need to wear these because blah, 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 I just kind of grown soft to that and said, well, that's my mom really wanting to take care of me and wanting to be loving me in her own way. And so I think for me, what's so important is sometimes seeing beyond what used to be our impediments, to see the love that comes from underneath it, however skillful or unskillful it might be.
So just a few thoughts now on motherhood in Buddhism. This time of year is very important because next week is Buddha's birthday. And in fact, Buddha's birthday should be today, but we moved it because of Mother's Day. And in many Buddhist traditions, both things are celebrated at the same time. So I'd like to talk about two mothers in particular, Maya and Maha Pachapati. So these were both mothers of the Buddha. The Buddha, before he became the Buddha, was known as Siddhartha. So they were sisters. They grew up in a town called Devadaha, in a clan that was somewhat similar to the clan they were going to marry into. And so that clan engaged in agriculture, they were traders of goods, and then when necessary, they took up arms. So both of these sisters married Sudahana, the chief of the Sakya clan, who lived with him in Kapilavastu. And so this was the custom at the time of multiple partners within a household. So Suddhodana was a great king, and his son, Siddhartha, the future Buddha, was his heir. Maya was the first sister to become pregnant. As was customary, Maya wanted to give birth in her family home, and when her time was near, she undertook the journey to Devadaha. En route, she stopped at the Lumbini garden to rest and to admire the flowering trees. When she raised her arm to pick a blossom, she felt labor pains and gave birth to a boy right under that tree. The family, of course, was overjoyed, and the chief and the king immediately called a famous seer, Ashita, who declared that the child would either become a great ruler or a great religious teacher, i.e. the future Buddha. 7 days after her delivery, Maya died. And neither history nor legend tells us why this was. Pachapati, her sister, took Siddhartha and raised him as her own first child, and later bore 2 more children. Their names were Sundari Nanda, that's a female, and also a son named Nanda. So she raised Siddhartha as her own child. So many years passed. Siddhartha became the Buddha and wandered around the countryside teaching, gathering followers. When Pachapati was in her 50s or 60s, he returned home. And most of the family treated him pretty coolly because, after all, he had just run off when he was age 29, just left a wife and child and the family and his inheritance. So the family was not exactly enamored with him, but his mother welcomed him with open arms. Both she and her husband, the king Suddhodana, embraced the teachings because the Buddha sat down and gave them the teachings. He said, "This is what I've been doing. This is the path that we're following." So after that, everyone in the family was so inspired, and many male members of the family became monastics and left to follow the Buddha. Her son, Nanda, Pachapati's son, Rahula, the Buddha's son, left as part of this, and then King Suddhodana died. So here, Pachapati was left out of the web of family connections that was so important at that time to give them identity and security in that particular society. Other women were displaced because their husbands too followed the Buddha. And so they came to her one by one until Maha Pachapati ended up with this great gathering of women. The number that is reported is 500. That just means a great many. We don't know if there was actually 500, but it was a lot. And so Maha Pachapati and the women who came to her traveled to a nearby monastery where the Buddha was staying, and they requested that they be entered, that they be ordained, that they be allowed to be monastics as well. So the Buddha first refused, and then through Pachapati's persuasion, and also through the persuasion of a chief disciple by the name of Ananda, they were admitted to the Sangha. So here we have Maha Pachapati being a mother in many ways. So not only a mother to the Buddha himself, but also a mother to all of the women who joined the Sangha. So we celebrate these aspects of motherhood in our tradition. Maha Pachapati lived to the age of 120. If you can imagine, that's a pretty ripe old age. And we consider her and her sister Maya to be great mothers of Buddhism. So Maha Pachapati was what we call an old soul, who talked about containing within herself the experience of all relations. So she talked about being a mother, being a son, being a father, being a brother, being a grandmother. So this goes back to that idea of mothering being sort of genderless. Archetypal traits of motherhood in Buddhism include devotion, passion, self-sacrifice. And it's also a prototype for all love and a theme for meditation within the Buddhist traditions. So now Gokul is going to lead us in some meditations about motherhood.
In the Buddhist tradition, there is a practice called touching the earth. As Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, the earth has been here a long time. She is a mother to us all and knows everything. The Buddha asked the earth to be his witness by touching her with his hand when he had some doubt and fear before his awakening. We can incorporate this practice as a way of honoring our parents and our ancestors. Touching the earth helps us return to our roots and recognize that we're not alone, but connected to a whole stream of spiritual and blood ancestors. Kind of like mycelium. We touch the earth to let go of the idea that we are separate, to remind ourselves that we are the earth and part of life. We can practice touching the earth with the following meditation. I see my mother and father, whose blood, flesh, and vitality are circulating in my own veins and nourishing every cell in me. Through them, I see my 4 grandparents. Their expectations, experiences, and wisdom have been transmitted from so many generations of ancestors. I carry in me the life, blood, experience, wisdom, happiness, and sorrow of all generations. The suffering and all the elements that need to be transformed, I am practicing to transform. I open my heart, flesh, and bones to receive the energy of insight, love, and experience transmitted to me by all my ancestors. I see my roots in all of my ancestors. I know I am the only continuation of this ancestral lineage. Please support, protect, and transmit to me your energy. I know wherever children and grandchildren are, ancestors are there also. I know that parents always love and support their children and grandchildren, although they are not always able to express it skillfully because of difficulties that they themselves encountered. As a continuation of my ancestors, I bow deeply and allow their energy to flow through me. I ask my ancestors for their support, protection, and strength. In the spirit of this beautiful spring day, we're going to do a bit of a walking meditation. Let's bring this idea with us as we walk around the temple yard. This walking meditation will be kind of a meditative offering. For some of us, it may be a walk of peace and happiness, and for others, it may be remembering and reconciliation. As our feet walk along the earth and our senses take in all of the burgeoning activity of springtime, let us reflect on our mothers with each step as an offering to them so that they can feel peace. Magamak will lead us on the walking meditation. Thank you.
We'll go 2 times around the room.
3 times.
So please everyone stand and we will follow single file. It says welcome up to me.